Here are 10 of the most undeniable rockin' riffs to come out of a powerhouse band that shook up the rock world like no other. Beginning with number 10, Immigrant Song. What opens with a thunderous scream from Robert Plant that hits you from the side, Jimmy Page matches with his two-chord hammer that feels like a Viking ship crashing into a shoreline. It's aggressive, it's relentless, and it doesn't apologize for a single second. Pure adrenaline wrapped in 6 strings. At number 9, Rock and Roll. If you've ever been sitting in a car, minding your own business, and suddenly the pounding drums and a strong guitar riff come through the speakers, the reason your grip may be tighter on the steering wheel is that Led Zeppelin is speaking to you. Legend has it, this one was born during a studio break when John Bonham started pounding out a Little Richard-style groove, and Page just jumped in without thinking. What came out was a riff so rooted in pure rock instinct that it sounds like it wrote itself. Simple, violent, and absolutely impossible to sit still through. Number 8. The Ocean. Here's a song most would agree doesn't get nearly enough credit. Page built a riff here that shifts and breathes like a living thing, syncopated, unpredictable, with this weird rolling quality that sneaks up on you before it knocks you flat. It's the riff for people who think they don't like Led Zeppelin yet. And if you've never heard the ringing phone in the song, I'd be surprised. The story is that a telephone can be heard ringing in the background when Zeppelin recorded this song. You'll hear it around the first guitar solo part. The only reason for this was, at the time, this song was being recorded at a house. At number 7 is Communication Breakdown. When the 4 guys from England were redefining riffs, this one really opened up a box of excitement. This is the riff that launched 1,000 punk bands, and none of them ever did it as well as the original. Fast, choppy, almost violent in its simplicity, Page proved right here on their very first album that he didn't need to be complicated to be devastating. Number 6. Heartbreaker. There's a moment in this song where Page just goes completely feral in the middle of a riff break. No backing, no drums, just him. And it remains one of the most technically jaw-dropping guitar moments in rock history. The main riff itself hits like a freight train, but it's the attitude behind every single note that makes this one unforgettable. If you've ever air guitared to this song, let us know. Number 5. Kashmir. This isn't really a guitar riff in the traditional sense. It's more like a force of nature. Page tuned his guitar differently, layered it over John Bonham's relentless march of a drum pattern, and created something that doesn't sound like it came from Earth. If a mountain range could make sound, it would sound like Kashmir. At the time, there weren't many songs for radio that even had this type of feel. Where else could you hear an exotic, Middle Eastern-influenced melody built around constant, ascending tension, rather than a traditional pop structure? I'm going to answer that for everyone watching. Nowhere. Rolling in at 4 is Moby Dick. People always talk about Bonham's drum solo on this track, and fair enough, but the riff Page built underneath the whole thing is a masterpiece of raw, bluesy aggression. It's the kind of riff that makes you realize the blues never actually died. It just got louder. What was your impression the first time you saw them play it live, if you ever had the experience? Number 3. Black Dog. Here's what makes this riff genuinely insane. It doesn't line up with the beat the way your brain expects it to. Page deliberately wrote it to slip in and out of the rhythm like something greasy and alive. The band had to practice it obsessively just to lock it in, and yet it sounds effortless every single time. Songs aren't made with these grooves, as most bands would have difficulty playing it live. Do you agree? Number 2. Stairway to Heaven. Yes, the acoustic intro counts as a riff. Prove me wrong. Page built one of the most perfectly ascending guitar phrases in music history. Something so beautiful and so widely recognized that guitar shops reportedly had to ban people from playing it just to get some peace. That's not a riff. That's a landmark. At number 1 is the dynamic Whole Lotta Love. Multiple publications, multiple polls, multiple generations, they all land in the same place. This riff is the undisputed heavyweight champion of rock and roll. Page came up with it on a houseboat and then walked into a rehearsal and changed music permanently. 2 strings are moving in unison, creating the illusion of something much bigger than what's actually being played. That's not just guitar, that's sorcery.